I have a question coming right back from a workshop about the soul. Is there a soul at all? How to deal with inner rage as a male? I couldn't have a partnership because I fear this dark side within. So there's two different ways that we could use the word soul. You could use the word soul as beingness, as everything, like the soul of being. Or you could use soul as the karma of the body. But neither, it doesn't really matter. What is it that you're afraid of by the word soul? So what is it that the issue with that word? But I wouldn't use those words, because in English, soul means the bottom of your foot, or a fish that swims in the sea, and then also your soul will go to heaven or hell in Christianity. So it's kind of got many meanings that are quite deep for people, especially the soul on the bottom of the foot. So I tend to stay away from that. But tell me what your issue is with it. Like, what scares you around that word? How to deal with inner rage as a male? I couldn't have a partnership because I fear this dark side within. I think that you need to go to male to ask this question, because I think that I can't relate to it from this life and this experience. Like, what I can relate to from myself, who had rage, was that my rage came from not asserting boundaries. So it came from overwhelm. So one habit that I can have, which I've talked about often, is if something scares me, I can freeze or please. So what that looks like is I can become pleasing to their wants. So if somebody's scaring, like I can please them. I can, make them a cup of tea, or like be nice to them, be really nice to them, or I can just freeze and not do anything. And I really try to break that. It also plays into over empathizing with people as well. And I really have tried to break that over the years. I still do it. But it's something I work on and try to be really conscious of, because if I, like when I was younger, when I used to do it like all the time, it's like crossing my boundaries all the time for other people, because I couldn't say no and I didn't even know what my boundaries were. What it would do is it would build up. So then, like once a month or something, normally around period time, I would just have like a breakdown. Like, either if it wasn't rage, it would just be like crying hysterically for a day or something, or it would end up as rage at the other person. And I'm talking like full out, like emotional rage, like damn, like really like yelling at them. And I still do it now, actually. Not that side of it, really. I don't really act out in that way, but I still do it now. Like if I'm doing a retreat, or if I'm leading something, at the end of the retreat, I can often have like just a big crying. So last retreat I thought this retreat was going to be easier because I shared it with someone else, but it wasn't. And then we drove away in the car, and like this big anger came up in me, and then it like burst like out into like this crying. I don't think I really went for anyone or anything. Like, I don't remember really what happened, but I remember like crying, like and crying my eyes out. And I think it's two things that happen to me. Is one, I'm really open energetically, so whoever's energy is around me, I absorb that energy. It's like I do this circular thing with people where I take their energy inside of me and then I give back out like this. And so sometimes when you've had like 25 people's energy on you, it's like really intense energetically. And then that's combined. So that's okay that happens. That's, I think, part of being a teacher. But it's combined with like sometimes being too giving and not saying no. Like, for example, at retreats, I really shouldn't eat lunch with people, or dinner or breakfast or anything, because it's too much for me. but there's another part of me that really wants to give to people, like, so, and then another part of me that like struggles to reject somebody in the moment, like if they come and sit with me or something. And it's all to do with boundaries, and then it becomes overwhelming for my system, like doing all that talking and all that energy that I'm doing with people, of like circling my energy with their energy. And that's a lot. When I was younger though, that would end up as rage at my partner. Like I would be so pleasing to my partner or kind to my partner and accepting their stuff, and then eventually it would end up at rage at them. It also meant that I was kind of like an epicenter for like very controlling people or very dominant people, or like very strong personalities. Epicenter. But it's still something after all these years that I have to be really careful of to not do. And it basically, not putting up boundaries to me, I don't have the rage or that sort of thing at people anymore, but I have like this emotional breakdowns after retreats often, or if I've been in really intense family situations, then that, like with people, there can be like an emotional break that happens at some point. And I think it's one part of just being really open energetically, and then the other part is not saying no enough, like not walking away from people enough, like if they're suffering or if they're depressed or if they're having issues, and then it becoming overwhelming for my system. So what I'm trying to say by that is that I suspect that your rage comes from boundaries being crossed. I suspect a lot of people's rage comes from boundaries being crossed. It doesn't mean that your boundaries are fair or right, or your judgments are right, but it's like working out what you want and what you need and being able to establish that in the moment. It could also be like, so if it's not that, it could also be really controlling energy. So like a fear of not being in control of anything, which ends up in rage. But I can't relate to that. That wasn't my story. My story was my anger came from allowing people in too much, allowing energies in too much. So the other one could be like being really, and maybe this is more of a masculine one, not a male one, but more of a masculine one, of this controlling energy. Like, so looking at everything through the mind and through thoughts and things having to be a certain way. There's nothing wrong with controlling energy. It's just understanding it and understanding what you want and what you need from that, and seeing it it's not the other person's fault, and that things don't have to be your way. But that's not really what you're looking for. So if you come into the house and you think that everything has to be in a certain area or in a certain place in the house, that's just your idea. That's not going to bring you that love and that peace that you're looking for. In many respects, it might bring you more discomfort the more that you give into that, because then the more that you have to control things. So, yeah. Those are my two different explanations. Soul means the inner aspect of the inner experience of the human existence, the inner conditions, including the subconscious. Okay, so I would say karma. So I'd say that each body has a karma, but karma is always evolving and changing. So there's always the possibility to change it. Although it has a similar pattern, it is always evolving. Ooh. So now, this is for example, Jonas. So something happened it's so mysterious how it all happens. I really don't always understand it. But something just knocked me when we were communicating. It might not have anything to do with you. It might just be that I'm coming to the end of the stream and I'm getting tired. But something just knocked me, and a difficult energy just like pushed through me, went through me. And there's different reasons that could be. It could be that, like, even through the internet, we're circling energies, and I'm circling some energies that are in you now. It could also be my energy. It could be like something I expressed that I'm tired and emotion coming up in me. It's hard to know. And whose is it anyway? But really, I should move on now, because otherwise I can't complete the talk. I'll get too tired from that. But I really appreciate your question, Jonas. I'm always unsure whether I should say these things, because I don't want people to like make this special, or to demonize people in any way, like you did something wrong, which is absolutely not what I'm doing. There was some sort of energy thing that happened between us. Yeah. It's like energy of stress. Is that something that you experience, Jonas? Energy of stress right now? It's like acid. Energy pass now, Jonas. But just quickly go back and say, yes, there is a heaviness of experience of being human, being tired of it. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jonas, and thanks for putting yourself out there and for allowing me to say that. It's not a judgment of you. I could be absolutely wrong and absolutely mad. It's just what comes, and I'm just trying to be honest about what comes and what happens in my experience. I've hidden this a lot, like my energetic experience, from people, because I didn't want to make people feel bad, and or put me up on any pedestal or anything. But now I'm like, oh, screw it. Let's just talk about it. This happens to me all the time, and I'm still working out how to deal with it. Okay,